Hey, what's up? Welcome to or back to Making Mistakes with Mary with your podcast host, Mary Cantley. I am literally coming on to my podcast with no script. And normally, when I mean like no script, I have like no bullet points to say to myself, things I want to get done throughout this podcast. This podcast is literally just like freeing. Like I have nothing. And I don't know if this is going to be a good podcast or not. Also, this is going to be like the 15-minute podcast. Just so I feel like, I don't think anyone really wants to hear me ramble on for 45 minutes about like what's going on about my life. As long I know like I really want to ramble about my life for 45 minutes, but you don't have the time and I don't have the time. So, and speaking of time, it is a ranting session with Mary. I think I'm just going to call these like little sessions of me like not knowing like what I'm going to say, but also giving an update on my life. Ranting with Mary. Making mistakes with Mary, ranting with Mary. This whole thing should have, like, this whole podcast name should have just been Ranting with Mary. So, and then you could have, like, I don't know, sweaters that say rant. I'm just kidding. We're not getting into merch just yet because, like, we don't really have a following right now. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Anyways, in current time state right now, it is currently 11 p.m. PST. I have school tomorrow. Today's Monday, and it's already been so hectic. So if you guys don't already know, I am doing online school for the first semester of my high school senior year, and I am just so stressed out. I didn't realize that we just had so many assignments, and also the fact that, like, although we have class for like 50 minutes, we do learn still, but I think majority of the time is independent learning. So they like give us a video and we learn through that way, and then we like get assignments that way. Majority of my classes are just reading, and you would think it's just reading, but if you add all of like the readings together, it takes so long to do. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're probably just a slow reader, which I am, and that's the type of reader that I am. I need to highlight, I need to annotate, I really need to read it over and over again for me to even understand it. So I totally get it that teachers like say that like it's probably only going to take 45 minutes, but honestly it takes me longer, probably an hour and a half. I have problems comprehending really fast. It's not a big issue at all, but it's me, honestly, maybe I'm just dozing off into the air and thinking too much. But also at the same time, I notice myself, and I don't think I'm like that. I really do think when I'm interested in something, it takes me a while to really grasp it. And so it takes some time. It takes some time. Speaking of grasping a concept, I wanted to talk about things that are kind of going on, like, within school right now. I am feeling a little overwhelmed, but today, I don't know what was it about my psychology class today, but it made me feel really special. And I know that I should probably not like have my happiness based on someone else's like opinion about like what I have to say, but it made me feel really great about what my teacher said about my assignment or like my answer. So basically we have these cohorts, whatever, I don't even know how to pronounce it, breakout rooms from the main call, and there's 4 people into my group, and he comes into our small group and he asks us questions based on the article that like we read. And one of my questions was about like the detrimental effects of like the psychology like of this like definition, and I gave all of my notes and like basically all the things that I thought were detrimental, and it made me super happy when he said like, oh, these are literally the best answers I've ever received today, and like so forth. And it made me feel really happy because all of my hard work and all my effort paid off for someone to say that to me. And I know I probably shouldn't be like, oh yeah, it's based on like his thinking of like my accomplishments, but it made me feel so special. And I think that's something I'm always going to think of in the back of my head. Like all day today, I was literally thinking about what he said, how I had the best like thorough answer. And I don't know why, it made me feel so happy, especially coming from a teacher who, doesn't really know me that well. For him to say that made me feel very happy and very overwhelmed with happiness. So I don't know, that's a little sunshine of happiness today. But considering the fact that I'm doing a podcast at 11 p.m. at night may not be the best sunshine moment considering it's like nighttime outside. But anyways, you might be wondering, like, Mary, like, why the hell are you even doing this at 11 o'clock at night? Well, you see here, sis. I have been working literally from 8 a.m. to, I want to say, like now, 11 p.m. because I've just been working and cranking out my homework non-stop. And again, it's a lot of like reading and take notes for a majority of my classes. So it takes me a really long time. And a lot of people say that I'm really slow when it comes to notes or reading. But personally, that's how I am as a person. And that's who I truly want to be. I can be the best Mary I can be. Just reading takes me a while. So it takes me a while. It's okay. See, this is why I have these ranting sessions, because this is where I kind of self-regulate my emotions and like see if I actually do something wrong, or is it like my fault, which it is my fault because, I need to get better at it. Life is going to move past me and I need to get better at things that like I can't totally grasp at the moment. But, speaking of, feeling overwhelmed lately, this is why I do this podcast. A lot of people say out there that I'm just doing this for college. If I'm going to be completely honest, this is like my stress relief. I feel like I regulate my feelings when I'm with someone on my podcast and I'm talking to a microphone, or I'm talking literally just like one-on-one with myself. And I feel like it's like a daily or like a nice checkup, like a monthly checkup of like where I am. And although like I have, no plan of what I'm saying to this microphone, it makes me feel really special that, I have this moment to sit down for 15 minutes and really, really think about it and even say it out loud and acknowledge it. And also I listen to it because I'm editing my podcast. So it's nice to really have this self-regulation going on at this current moment. So that's why I do this podcast. A lot of people always ask me why, and I always reply with, I always want to be the big sister that you probably never had or did have, but like you didn't like or didn't love. And hopefully you love me as being your older sister and speaking through a microphone, although you've never been physically in person in contact with me. Yeah, I don't even know. I describe it as an older sister to sister bond, but I honestly think it's just a person to person bond, whether you like me or not. I hope that you like my lifestyle and the way I live it and the way I speak the truth about my own personal life. So it's teach its own. I don't even know what the saying is. But anyways, aside from, why I love doing my podcast so much and why I love making mistakes with Mary, is the fact that although this is like my stress relief, I want to tell you guys something that I've been really putting into my head. And I don't know if this is going to work for you guys or it just works for me, but I always just have in my head, it's just progression. And I always think that in my head because for me personally, I'm not even going to lie. I have moments where I don't want to get up and do a podcast with a guest. Although I love the guest, and once I'm literally talking to them, like we talk for like 45 minutes and I'm dying in our conversations because I think it's so funny. Like a lot of people say my laughs on my podcast are like ridiculously like very fake, but they're actually genuinely real. So I don't know how I laugh. I don't know. But anyways, oh my God, where was I going with that? Oh my gosh, why did I lose my train of thought? What? Okay, but I meant to say is that like although I have this as my stress relief, one thing I really do like to put into my head and that kind of keeps me going even when I am stressed is I always just say think about it or see the progression. And I try to see my progression because I tend to give up really easily and it's a big thing of mine. I hate giving up, but it's something I do and I want to work on it. I want to get better at it. But for the meantime, I am just, I don't even know how to explain it. Sorry. This is like my 11 p.m. Oh my God, close to midnight Mary kind of talk. Could this be like midnight Marys? Although this doesn't even come out at midnight. I don't even know. I'm super tired right now. People who are actually like listening to this like in the morning and actually have their head on straight is probably like, oh yeah, Mary's definitely drunk or she's high or something like that. I swear, I think I'm just really tired. I am so freaking tired. Like, think about it, right? So this whole weekend, I kind of like woke up at like 5 a.m. in the morning every single day. And then today I woke up at 7:40, like 20 minutes before class was supposed to start. So I stayed in bed and had the time, and I just didn't really feel like getting up this day. I had no motivation to get this day done. And yet I'm still here doing my podcast because this is something I love. And also, like, if I'm going to be completely honest, like as I stated before, progression. Sometimes I'm like, where is my podcast going? No one's listening to my podcast. No one probably cares what I have to say about this podcast. No one probably cares what I do in my life. You know what I mean? Like, no one probably cares, but I still do it. So what is the point of me doing this podcast? It's not for college, because I'm not impressing them with my podcast. I want to impress myself and people out there who really want to listen to my story. You know what I mean? But I'm like, why? Like, what is the point? Am I trying to get a message out there, or am I trying to please people? Like, what is it? Am I a people pleaser? Like, what is going on with me? And then I look back and I look at the chart, I look at the data. My following is growing. You know, thank God for people who are actually listening to this podcast. Like, you know, whether if it's my dad, shout out to my dad who listens to my podcast like 24/7. I love him. Or family members out there like in the Philippines. Hi, thanks for listening. You're the best. But I'm saying is that, you know, I don't see the audience growing, and I don't see this, and I don't see that. But if you, in reality, you know, I have to keep doing my podcast to see, you know, an evolution of people coming in, coming and going, to really see, you know, my podcast channel. You know, one person or one singer can be like a star on one take. But yet, if they don't make a lot more videos or like music later on in the future, they were just a one-hit wonder, and that was it. That was their chance. So I think a really big thing that I've really learned under quarantine is just look at your progression. Am I progressing the right way, the good way? And if this is like a way to reach your goal and success, I feel like that's super important to regulate yourself and to see if you're actually setting on the right path. Because if you're not wasting your time, because I don't think time is really wasted. I think time is being fluctuated. That's always what I say. It's kind of weird. It's a weird saying. It's definitely a weird saying. All I have to say is that you never really waste your time. I think that's something that people say. They're like, wasting your time, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your time. But I don't think you're really wasting your time. I guess I do waste my time. But I feel like sometimes those are just spaces in my head or in the day where my body's just like, hey, can we take a little, like, you know, can we take a 5 real quick and then we'll get back on track? So I always think that probably not the right thing, when probably it is wasting my time. But I like to look at the positive end of it. And also, I'm justifying my actions, which is bad. Probably is a bad habit, but I do that. But anyways, this is kind of like, a way for me to kind of check in on you guys and trying to check in on me. Kind of, why am I like not talking like English? But like kind of checking on me, kind of checking on you, on how my life is going. Right now, you guys probably hear from my voice that I'm probably very overwhelmed. And it's not that like my teachers are really, really assigning so much. It's that it takes me a while longer. And I think that's the type of student I am. And that's the type of student that, like, you know, I need to fix or either get to know better so I can, you know, fix the problem. So, you know, I'm literally all over the place right now. But yeah, I think this is kind of where I am at the moment. I'm a little unorganized at the moment. I sometimes don't see my progression. I feel like, what is the point of continuing this podcast if people might not want to listen, or people might not want to hear what I ever have to say? And I hear a lot of people say that my voice is like super annoying, so you could just leave now. Like, why are you listening? Like, you can leave now. But yeah, this is kind of my self-progress. This is my self-check-in. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. This is kind of super random. It's just ranting with Mary, and something I really want to check in, because I want to let you guys know that I am still a real person and I am still a human being, which to the point where I can share my stress and the way I'm trying to compromise with my stress. But sometimes, you know what? I have no way out. I just gotta wait for my obstacle to move. and hope for the best. You know what I mean? And I wanted to show my human side, because I feel like I give a lot of podcast stories and a bunch of like podcasts about like morning routine and like how to motivate yourself and how to fix yourself, when in reality sometimes I don't have myself in check as well. So I feel like having this podcast and me sharing on this podcast, you know, about my not problems, but like obstacles that I'm going through, like shows and shows and displays like my lifestyle right now, and that I am a human being and we're all humans, so we all go through the same thing. So please don't think of me as like someone who is either being fake or not being genuine about their lifestyle, because it definitely is not what I'm trying to show out here to people. I think I just want to be the realist, you know, older sibling or older sister that you have, and having this like kind of girl talk moment, self-reflect girl talk moment for myself. I always bring girl bosses onto my podcast, but what was that? Remember that you don't always have to be on the hustle 24/7. You gotta take a break once in a while. I also have to remember that too. So this weekend, self-care routine will be posted onto my YouTube channel, and I'm gonna have a self-care night. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. I know this is kind of like sketchy. It's kind of all over the place, but you know, this is kind of my little self check-in. And I also have to remember that this podcast is, you know, not only for you guys. Of course, I want you guys to enjoy it, but it's something I want to, of course, be personal with, and also share, you know, my thoughts on what's going on with my life. So I really do appreciate that. If you guys are listening to this right now, thank you. You know, you're the reason why I'm doing this in the first place. You know, sometimes I think, what's the point? You're the reason why. Remember that. If no one told you that they loved you today, I love you. And you know what? If no one has told you that you look great or beautiful or handsome today, I told you that you look amazing, even though this is all on voice. But you know what? You are the best person that you can possibly be. And I'm really glad. And again, something I always say to my podcast guests, but you know what? I need to give this to my podcast listeners. I'm very proud of you. So I will see you guys into my next podcast episode. And yeah, I love you guys so much, to the moon and back. Thanks for listening.